Hello, and welcome to the Georgia Department of Transportation Local Government Contract Management Information System module for local public agencies. What is CMIS? CMIS is a web-based software that allows GDOT to track and monitor contract-specific information. A few things that you are able to do within CMIS is generate contract IDs, track allocated amounts for contracts, consultant evaluations, and electronic invoicing. CMIS electronic invoicing. A few goals the department would like to achieve while using CMIS is to eliminate the amount of paperwork that we currently have with our invoicing process. We would like to speed up the payment process to the local sponsors. We would also like to decrease the amount of time it takes for GDOT to review the invoices for a quicker payout. We would like to provide system-based calculations, capture detailed invoicing information, eliminate date errors, and track invoice payments. Before CMIS, the local sponsors did not know how to tell where their invoice or how close their invoice was to being paid out. With using CMIS, now the local sponsors can log directly into their CMIS external account and see whose queue their invoice is in, and if they need to follow up with a specific person or the GDOT PM, they may do so. When will you use CMIS? Where PFA funds are reimbursable. A PFA, otherwise known as a Project Framework Agreement, is a contract between a department and a local sponsor. This contract solidifies the amount that the department has agreed to reimburse the local sponsor. It is always the department's responsibility to set up a purchase order for payment to a local government where funds are reimbursable. How to access CMIS. The sponsor's financial representative will set up a user account on behalf of the sponsor using the link provided below. This link will send you directly to the registration page where your representative can fill out the needed documentation and submit a request to get a VIN number for the Georgia Department of Transportation. The user account number will also be known as your vendor number or your V number. Once you are ready to proceed to the registration form, the link should take you to a screen similar to the screenshot provided. It is recommended that the person submitting the invoices on behalf of the local sponsor should register the form and have access to CMIS. The following information will need to be provided: the first name, the last name, the user email. Under organization information, the representative should search for their organization first and select their organization. If the representative finds that their organization is not listed, they should email our Solution Center and request that their organization be listed as a GDOT vendor in our system. If your local sponsor has received any payments previously from the department, it is more than likely that your organization is listed as a vendor. If you are unsure of your organization's list status, please contact our Solution Center. Under the User Information section, the position, the address, the work phone number will also need to be provided. Your GDOT point of contact will be your GDOT project manager. Select the account type as GDOT vendor. For application access, the representative should select CMIS, Consultant Management Information System, and provide the reason for access. Once all fields are completed, The representative may select the terms and conditions and submit the registration form. You will only need to submit the registration form once, and not for every contract you receive with the department. Once a user registration form is completed and submitted to the department, our IT office will review and verify the information and provide the registered email address, a vendor ID number, and a password setup. An example of your V number will look similar to the number below. Instructions on the next step for the user will also be provided from our IT department. Use the provided vendor login for future GDOT projects. For questions or concern regarding account access to your external CMIS account, you may email Solution Center, and they will be able to provide you with the necessary steps on how to proceed. All accounts must be accessed within 30 days of every month. If an account is not accessed within 30 days, you're liable that your account will become inactive. If your account becomes inactive, please reach out to our Solution Center and they can provide you with the next steps on how to reactivate your account. Once you have received your V number from our IT department and instructions on how to set up your password, you may navigate to the CMIS external site by using the link provided. The home page to the CMIS external site should look similar to the screen provided. You may log in with your GDOT credentials that was given to you from our IT department and your password. Once you have successfully logged into your CMIS external page, your home page should look similar to the screen displayed. On your home page, you are able to see all of your project framework agreements that are associated with your organization. When you are ready to bill to a particular contract, from your external CMIS homepage, you may select the Electronic Invoicing tab and search for your contract number that you wish to invoice. Once you have selected your contract ID number for which you would like to submit an invoice, the screen should look similar to the one provided. Select New Invoice. Once you have selected a new invoice, your invoice should look similar to the page displayed. By selecting the Contract Info tab at the top of your invoice, you will be able to see a summary of your contract information. You will be able to see your contract ID number, the current contract amount, the contract invoiced amount, and how much you have remaining on your contract. All of the boxes in red on the invoice indicate fields that are required for every invoice from the sponsor. The from date might automatically generate if a previous invoice was submitted. The end date is required from the sponsor. If the final invoice box is selected, the sponsor is indicating that no further billing activities will take place on this contract and the purchase order may be closed. A vendor invoice ID number is also required for every invoice. The project activity number and the project manager will automatically generate by CMIS. The work completed to date percentage is a percentage provided from the sponsor to indicate how far along the project has progressed before it reaches 100%. The budget expended to date percentage is automatically calculated by CMIS. It takes the contract invoiced amount and divides it by the current contract amount. In the direct cost field, the sponsor should provide how much they are requesting to be reimbursed. In the invoice attachment field, the sponsor should attach all supporting documentation and the local let reimbursement form to every invoice. The amounts on the local let reimbursement form should match the amount in the direct cost field. Once all the attachments are uploaded, the sponsor should accept the terms of service and submit their invoice. CMIS only allows for one invoice to be paid out at a time. You will be able to save an invoice within CMIS, but you will not be able to submit the invoice until your previous invoice is approved. If you see any discrepancies within your contract information, you should reach out to your GDOT project manager to clear up any discrepancies. The sponsors are required to attach supporting documentation to every invoice that is submitted within CMIS. One of the documents required for invoice submission is the local PE reimbursement request form. This form should be filled out by the sponsors for every invoice and submitted and attached to the invoice within CMIS. The GDOT project manager should ensure that all the amounts that are listed on the reimbursement request are exactly the same as the amounts requested on the CMIS invoice. The sponsors are also required to attach any copies of checks and proof of payments to reflect the amount that they are asking to be reimbursed. If the locals have an 80-20 split, then the locals should be requesting 80% of whatever amount that they have totally paid out. The checks and the proof of payments should support this amount. I will first explain the original invoicing workflow when we were sending invoices via email. The invoice would come from the local government to the GDOT project manager. From the GDOT project manager, it would go to the district program manager, the assistant office head, the OPD contract technician, and then to accounts payable. Within this process, there was no way to accurately tell whose queue the invoice was in. We were all communicating via email to try and get a response to where the invoice was at and how soon it was to being paid out. This payout time could take 30 to 45 days from when the original invoice was submitted to the GDOT PM. One of our areas of focus in CMIS is to improve this payout time. Submitting invoices via CMIS will consist of a quicker workflow. The invoice will come from the local government, submitted to the GDOT PM, to the contract technician, to the office head, to contracts payable, and to PeopleSoft, and it's ready for payout. At any time, if the GDOT PM rejects an invoice, the invoice will go back to the local government. If the GDOT PM approves the invoice, it will then go to the contract technician, the office head, the contracts payable, and PeopleSoft smoothly. If the contract technician, the office head, or contracts payable rejects an invoice, it will go immediately to the GDOT PM, and the GDOT PM will reject it to go to the local government. The local government will be able to review and resubmit the same invoice for processing. If an invoice has no discrepancies, the payout time should be between 15 to 20 days. If no discrepancies are found in the invoice, as explained in the previous slide, your invoice will follow the same workflow. You will be able to log into your CMIS external account and view exactly where your invoice is in the workflow process. You will be able to see whose queue is in, what date it was assigned to that person, and the status of your invoice, plus any comments that were made for your invoice. To provide a summary, by switching to CMIS, we will be able to minimize the amount of paperwork that is currently reviewed in our office. We will also be able to reduce calculation errors on contracts and on invoices. We'll be able to increase the workflow communication between GDOT and the local governments. Before CMIS, the local governments were unable to tell where an invoice was once they submitted their invoice to GDOT. Using CMIS, the locals got able to sign into their CMIS external accounts and see exactly where their invoice is and have a quicker payout. The locals and the GDOT PMs will also receive email notifications for discrepancies and for when invoices are ready for review. And most importantly, we just want to increase the efficiency for payments. Before CMIS, as I explained previously, could take between 30 to 45 days for payout if there were no discrepancies found. If there were discrepancies, this time could increase. With switching to CMIS, the payout time can be anywhere between 10 to 15 days or sooner. Are there any questions?